Every spring, we plant a large garden with the goal of growing enough produce to feed our family throughout the year. Not only does this homegrown food stretch our grocery budget, but it also gives us peace of mind, knowing exactly how our food was grown. It all begins with planting day, and today is a big one. We've got a full day of planting ahead of us, and we'll be racing the rain to get it all in the ground. It's going to be a busy, but hopefully a fun day. Today is a really huge planting day. I'm feeling the urgency, I guess, to get all of my stuff out in the garden. I really badly want to get my white potatoes and my sweet potatoes out. Those are like the absolute priority for today. I also really want to get my tomatoes out and maybe some cucumbers, maybe some corn. I'm guessing not all of that's going to happen, but we're just going to get as much done as we possibly can. It's supposed to rain today sometime. The weather keeps changing, but this afternoon sometime probably. And I just really badly need to get this stuff out. I really want to get the tomatoes out because it stresses me out to have things up here in pots, seedlings that I have to take care of. It's just so much more comforting to have them out in the soil where I don't have to take quite as good care of them. As for white potatoes, a lot of people in Ohio have probably already planted their white potatoes, but I like to wait until the absolute last minute because if I plant them too early, like a lot of people do, I have to harvest them earlier in the season and our cold room is not cold yet. So that is why I'm planting them this late. Cody also went to town this morning and got the supplies to put up a couple new trellises, which I'm very excited about. So hopefully we can get that done today too. It's a lot, but we're gonna try. So first things first, I am going to cut up potatoes so that they can dry out before I plant them. I think we're probably gonna plant these last, but I do want them to dry out a little bit. Some people will dip their potatoes in sulfur and all kinds of things. I never do that. My mom never did it. I just cut them up and plant them. I don't love planting them when they have long stems like this on them, but it's okay. When I cut them up, I try to make so there's 3 eyes. So 3 little buds where a stem will come out. I like to have 3 on each piece. This variety here is Kennebec. I'm doing Yukon Gold, Kennebec, and Red Pontiac. I have definitely experimented with planting the entire potato versus cutting them up. If the potatoes are small, I still will just plant 1 small potato, not necessarily cut them up. In my experiments with planting a whole potato versus cutting the potatoes in pieces, I didn't feel like the increase in production was that substantial. That's just me. We definitely grow enough potatoes, and I have enough leftovers from last year that I could just plant the potatoes in our root cellar. Something my mom always taught me was that she was like, just start with fresh seed potatoes every year. That way you don't have near as much chance of spreading disease in your garden. So I've always done that. Maybe someday I will experiment with just trying to plant our potatoes. I like the idea of it. It's just something I've never done. For our family of 6, for a solid year, maybe not quite a solid year, just simply because potatoes don't store very well in the root cellar after it gets warm outside. But for what our family needs, we plant 40 pounds of seed potatoes to get the amount of potatoes that we need for the year. But definitely remember that the amount of seed potatoes that you plant is gonna depend a lot on your soil. So back when my soil was not doing very well, when I had clay soil that was hard and not very mineral rich, I really struggled to get a good potato harvest. So I had to plant way more potatoes than I do now to get the amount that we needed. So now the potatoes that we grow are bigger and they store longer and there's more per plant. So definitely keep that in mind. If you have poor soil, you might need to do more than what I said. I don't like when my seed potatoes are this sprouted. It just makes them so much harder to work with. When it comes to storage potatoes, red Pontiac potatoes definitely sprout first in my cold room. So if you are wanting potatoes for storage, I would not do a massive amount of the red Pontiac. The Yukon Gold and the Kennebec will way outlast the red Pontiac. We are still eating Yukon Gold and Kennebec potatoes from our cold room.
First thing we need to do out here is move this tomato trellis. We want to rotate our tomatoes to the other side of the garden so we're not planting in the same spot, sucking up the same nutrients, and hopefully getting away from some of the diseases that maybe they had last year. We put this in last year with some mixed results. Most of it was good. We're gonna do kind of the same thing this year. What we didn't like was this one section here with only a trellis on one side. It was really hard to hold the tomato plants up. They just got so huge. So we're gonna start out with one on each side of the plants to begin with. And then a couple of the plants, the determinate tomatoes, Michelle wants to put into a cage. We got some bigger cages at Berlin Seeds that I think will work really well for that. Then the indeterminate ones will be able to go on this thing. It's starting to rain. Barely even gotten started yet. Whee! This drink that I made myself before we came out here is a coffee from Everyday Dose. Not just coffee, it's coffee plus mushrooms, collagen, and nootropics. Everyday Dose is sponsoring today's video. I absolutely love it because I have had issues in the past with drinking caffeinated coffee. If I drink caffeinated coffee, I get all shaky, jittery, does not feel good at all. And so I had been drinking decaf coffee, but my cousin introduced me to Everyday Dose, and it does still have some caffeine in it, but it has a lot less. And I have drank as many as like 3 of these coffees in a day, don't get jittery at all, and it tastes really good. I also love it because of the mushrooms, and the L-theanine in it really helps with focus, so I'll often have a coffee while I'm editing. I've got maybe just a touch of ADHD, and it can be hard for me to stay focused sitting at a computer for a long period of time. So I love to have an Everyday Dose sitting beside me and sip on that while I'm doing that. It's really easy to make too, especially with the starter kit they send you. You get a little frother to mix it up. I've also started drinking their Bold Coffee Plus, which has twice the caffeine, and I'm still able to drink that and feel really good on it. And that's nice if I feel like I need a little bit of an energy boost. And with their subscription, you get free gifts throughout the year, which is really cool. And if you use the link in our description and our code, you can get up to 45% off your first order. These cattle panels are 16 feet long, and we only need about 24 feet of trellis. So I could cut them, but I'd rather leave them long in case we use them for something else later. So I'm just gonna overlap them in the middle. And then I've got these T-posts every like 4.5 to 6 feet or so. And then we're gonna have the 2 trellises about 18 inches apart. So this first one is gonna go up, and then I'll probably pound the post for the other one. Then we're gonna plant the tomatoes before we put the other side up so that it's nice and open to be able to get in there. It's arm day. So it is at kissing height. I'm gonna put a couple of the metal clips on then, I think.
I wondered. Oh. It is finally time to plant. Feels like we've been just doing things all morning and nothing has happened. I'm gonna start out by planting Amish paste tomatoes. I think I'm gonna do, was it 8 of them? Along this big trellis, because these are the ones that grow the tallest and are the craziest. These are a priority for me. Amish paste is my favorite tomato for canning. These are a little bit small. I got them from the greenhouse and I think they had sold out of all the bigger ones, but it's fine. I'll just put them under buckets. So I normally plant my own tomatoes, start my own seedlings indoors, and I did that this year, but they did not look good at all because something was wrong with my grow light. I think the bulb needed to be replaced really bad. And so I ended up losing all of them, which was really sad, but it's totally fine. Thankfully, we have a greenhouse. I usually stick with a few tried and true varieties, but I did want to experiment a little bit this year. Obviously, the seeds that I started, I'm not gonna be able to experiment with those varieties because the greenhouse didn't have them, but I'm just trying some different ones. Last year, I put my determinate tomatoes on this trellis as well, and I did not like it. It just was not, it was incredibly difficult to put a big bushy plant on one trellis. It just didn't work. So I'm gonna put my determinate tomatoes back into cages this year, but all of my indeterminate tomatoes are going to go on this thing. Here I have a Sun Gold, which is my favorite cherry tomato. This is actually Sun Sugar, but I'm pretty sure it's basically the exact same thing. Just gonna do one of those because we always have way too many cherry tomatoes. I like to do one yellow tomato plant every year. My kids really like the yellow tomatoes. In previous years, I have been doing Carolina Gold, but I decided to switch it up. I liked the Carolina Gold as far as the production and stuff, but I didn't feel like the taste was quite spot on. So this year I'm gonna try Golden Jubilee. This is an indeterminate tomato, so I'm gonna plant it on this trellis. This is a nice big one. I'm gonna do one Celebrity Plus. I just got this because I know that this tomato performs very well for me. When it comes to flavor, I don't feel like the Celebrity Plus, it's a hybrid. I don't feel like it has the flavor of a lot of heirlooms, but the production and the quality of the tomato is perfect for canning, and they are very disease resistant. So I'm gonna do one Celebrity Plus just because that was a tomato that I knew was gonna do well, that they did have at the greenhouse. And then I'm also going to do a bush beef steak, flavorful and just right for slicing. I just thought this one sounded really nice, really good for tomato sandwiches, which is one of our favorite foods. And I think this one is heirloom as well. One thing that I really like to do with my tomatoes is just plant the barest necessities. I just plant as many as I need, and then I take like really good care of them. I just really baby them. I fertilize them, I keep them sprayed for fungus. I do only use natural sprays, but here in Ohio, basically it's just so damp that tomatoes are very prone to fungus. So I just like to keep on that with like a weekly spray routine. I also keep my tomatoes pruned and trellised. I keep all the branches off the ground. I have just found that for me, it's so much easier to plant fewer tomato plants and then really take good care of them rather than have a whole bunch and just feel like I'm never quite on top of their care. I am going to water these really good. I'm gonna put buckets over top of them because tomatoes really like to be warm, especially to get started. I'm gonna wait to mulch these for just a little bit. I like for my heat-loving plants to get really established before I mulch them. Sometimes if you keep the soil really cool, it just takes them a bit longer to get established, which is one of the reasons I don't like the deep wood chip mulch method, is because the ground stays cooler for longer. That's just my opinion. I've had experienced gardeners that I trust tell me that the wood chips kept their gardens from taking off really fast in the spring. Even though we're racing the rain, I'm still going to quickly water these in just so that there's really good soil contact with the roots of the plant. Always water in your seedlings. These buckets also just give me so much peace of mind when there are those spring storms and I know that my seedlings aren't just getting pounded by the rain. Especially small, fragile seedlings like this just really do well with extra protection. It's definitely feeling like it could rain. There's been like just drops of rain every now and then, just enough to scare us. So hopefully we can get the rest of this stuff in the ground.
These are extra tall, extra sturdy tomato cages that we got from Berlin Seed. Really impressed with the look of these things.
They're massive.
Those are huge. Probably not today, since we need to get going with the rest of the planting, but sometime I will come back out here with a piece of rebar and stick it in beside this to help hold this up. We have had tomatoes blow over in windstorms. When they blow over, it uproots the plant, so you definitely do not want that to happen. I just use like maybe a 4 or 5 foot piece of rebar, pound it in beside it, and then maybe zip tie it to it or something.
Woohoo!
Tomatoes planted.
Oh, this was a huge job. I'm so glad it's done. It's looking very, very rainy, and we're officially in the race against time. I hate rushing. This is my absolute pet peeve, but it is what it is. We have to get these white potatoes in the ground because they're cut up now. So we're just going to make it happen. The kids are helping me with this. Like I said up there on the porch, I plant 40 pounds for us for the year. And I really like to put these in nice loose soil so that they can get really big. Root veggies really like to have nice loose soil because everything, like all their development happens like underneath the soil. When it comes to planting white potatoes, I really like to do double rows. I think it's more efficient with space and they grow really well like next to each other. I just put a little bit of space in between the double row and they do great. Okay, go fill your bucket with the ones from the bowl. Just try to hurry. It's raining, but we're gonna quickly try to finish this in the rain. Can't stop now. It's the next afternoon. We got rained out last night. We got everything in just in time, but we did not get our sweet potatoes planted, and that was very important to me. There is a little break in the rain. I don't think it's gonna last long. It's drizzling as we speak. So we're gonna try to quickly get these sweet potatoes in. For our family of 6, I like to plant about 40 sweet potato slips. That is about right for our family to have sweet potatoes stored all winter long. We are still actually eating sweet potatoes from our cold room. They are still storing super well. I have another gardening confession to make. So I was going to try to grow my own sweet potato slips this year. I tried the soil method and I also tried the water method, and both of them, the sweet potatoes rotted. So the first one I picked up, it smelled like death, like really bad rotted. It was absolutely disgusting. I think my sweet potatoes were still just very dormant. So next year, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna bring out some sweet potatoes and put them in a warm spot so that the dormancy is broken before I try to sprout them. And I'm just gonna try to sprout them naturally, because if you don't put sweet potatoes in a cold room, they will sprout. My all-time favorite variety of sweet potatoes for our zone, which is zone 6A, is Covington, and then next is Vardaman. Those always do super, super well for us. You can tell these slips look a little sad, but in my experience, they will perk up within a few days underneath a bucket and they'll be just fine. I really, really like to plant sweet potatoes in a week where I know it's going to be nice and cool and a little bit overcast. They do not do well with just being put straight out into the sunshine. If you do that, you very likely will kill off all of your sweet potato slips and have to start over again. I also always cover my sweet potatoes with buckets. They're very fragile. A lot of these don't have very many roots yet. This one does, but a lot of them don't. They are very, very finicky in my experience. The sun all of a sudden poked out and it's like all out hot. It's crazy. It's like super hazy. This is weather where you can just feel things growing. I absolutely love it. I like to shoot for about a dozen sweet potato plants in each bed. This one has the butterfly pea flowers at the end, so I'm only going to be doing 10 in this bed. The reason that I choose Covington and Vardaman sweet potato varieties is because I love that they are either bush varieties or semi-bush varieties, which means that the potatoes grow at the base of the plant, so you don't have to go and dig up your entire garden when you are harvesting your sweet potatoes. That is Cody's like personal pet peeve. Quick note here, the reason that I'm able to plant today, even if it's been raining all day, is because of these lovely raised beds. Here in Ohio, springs are so wet and it's difficult to get things planted. So for example, if we would want to plant white potatoes today, there's no way we could. It's just too wet in the in-ground garden. But these raised beds, absolutely beautiful. One thing that I was very surprised to hear when I started growing sweet potatoes is that sweet potatoes don't actually love crazy fertile soil. If I'm wrong, you can correct me, but the way I understand it is that if the soil is very fertile and then the sweet potato vines, like the actual vines on top, will be big and beautiful and lovely, and then the actual sweet potato underneath is going to be a little bit smaller. When I say rich soil, I'm guessing it has to do mostly with like the nitrogen content of your soil. Nitrogen makes nice lush greens, but then root veggies don't love it as much. So maybe plant your sweet potatoes in an area that isn't quite as nitrogen rich. Cody very sweetly poked holes, drilled holes, whatever, in these buckets. If you put buckets over your seedlings, you want at least some light to be able to get in. You don't want them to be completely opaque. You want them to be somewhat transparent, and you also want some ventilation in there. Always, always water in your seedlings. I always just feel so skeptical as to whether sweet potato slips are actually gonna like take root, because they look so pathetic after you plant them. Sweet potatoes are one of those crops that I really like to wait to mulch them until it's nice and hot outside, or at least until they're very well established. I have found if you mulch them too quickly, the ground stays very cool and they don't take off really fast. So I like to let them have all the warmth that they can possibly get. Just a note on the varieties that I planted, Covington is my all-time favorite. It has beat every other sweet potato that I've ever tried. It has a deep orange, moist flesh. Really, really love them. They don't get disease as easily either, I found, as some other potatoes. And then the Vardaman potatoes they're still a beautiful, nice orange sweet potato, but they are just a touch drier. But it's worth it for me just simply because all the potatoes grow so nicely at the center of the plant, and they also don't get disease as quickly as some that I've tried. There's always that one corner that the hose hardly reaches. This poor guy is the saddest of them all. He's gonna have to completely start over with leaves. You can do it, Rosa. I really, really love to plant my sweet potatoes in raised beds. I like it much better than in ground, just simply because here in Ohio, it can tend to be pretty damp. And in past years, my sweet potatoes always came out of the ground with kind of like a fungus. It wasn't awful. They were still really good to eat, but they did not last as long in storage. And now that they're in raised beds, with really good drainage, I don't have much fungus issue anymore. Last year, a couple of the varieties that I tried that were like new experiments had some fungus, but they still lasted for most of the winter. So in my opinion, for the reason of drainage, raised beds are super for sweet potatoes. Apart. Oh, that actually wasn't me. I can't get it, babe.
This trellis right here was so magical last year. The loofahs were growing on it, hanging down. And I just thought if we put in another trellis, it would be twice as magical. And it worked really well for those loofahs, so I think it's also gonna work really well for other vining stuff. It's out there. The other cool thing about these trellises is that they're so simple to build. It's just these 4 posts. Then we're gonna arch this cattle panel in here and put some zip ties on, and it's ready for these sweet pea things, whatever they are.
Butterfly pea flowers.
What?
Butterfly pea flowers. You got it completely wrong.
Butterfly pea flowers. Another day, another everyday dose. This is going to be so gorgeous. With these 2 trellises here, that wall of tomatoes back there, this is gonna be some kind of little fairyland right over here, I think. We're really getting geared up for this garden season, and if you want to be a step ahead of things and know how we do chemical-free gardening, how we don't use toxic sprays and stuff, and be ready for what's coming in your garden, watch this video here next.
Oh, come on! Ugh.